2001 United States Open, Venus Williams.
Freeman of Australia, the red, yellow and black shoes taker. Freeman wins gold. Kathy Freeman has become an Olympic champion.
There it is, as grand as it gets. And Tiger has his slam.
I think it's the greatest feat I've ever known in all of sports. Welcome into the Hyundai High Performance Hour for Wednesday, the 3rd of July, 2013. Well, the Tour de France is a great sporting spectacle. Of late, much maligned, but for me, it is still one of the great sporting events on this planet. What sport these days isn't mired in a little controversy from time to time? I'm addicted to it. I love bike riding. That helps, I guess, if you're going to follow this particular sport. I love the nuances. I love the tactical battles. It's almost like a heavyweight title fight each and every stage of the 21 days that they ride in this amazing event. It's got so much history, and yet still they find new ways to rewrite the history books. This year, they started the tour in Corsica. I believe for the first time in the 100-year history, they rode a part of the Tour de France in Corsica. And yet when you look at it, you think, well, why not? Yeah, why has it taken 100 years? I guess the bus driver might say, no, they should never have gone there. But that's another story. This is the Hyundai High Performance Hour. We're going to talk the Tour de France. Later in this hour, we will catch up with Paul Jesson, who in a very short time, a very short career at the top level, probably has staked a claim to be regarded as one of New Zealand's best ever road cyclists. We'll go through his CV, and it was a CV that continued in the sport of Paralympics after he suffered a terrible accident and lost a leg. So it's not a career that ended at the time of that accident. Indeed, he went on to enjoy a decorated career in Paralympic cycling. But in the short time that he was riding at the top level, mid-20s I think it was when he had the accident, he certainly, you look at his CV and he's got every right to be regarded as one of the best road cyclists that New Zealand has ever produced. That's Paul Jesson. Joining me in studio, of course, on Sport Lately is Del Woodford. And Del, it's very timely because you yourself, a former cyclist, your life is cycling. It's your business with Avanti Plus. And of course you are a commentator as well. So who better than you to have in the studio to talk the Tour de France? I don't know, do you love or hate this time of the year? You'd love to be over there and doing nothing but watching the Tour. But back here, you've got to run the business. You've got the family. Do you stay up till 3 a.m. every night watching it? How do you survive?
Well, to pace myself, I do love it. I'd love to be over there. Of course, as every cycling fan, I know you'd love to be there as well, Andrew, and many fans around the world would all love to be there. There's 15 million people there, so we can't all be there watching on the side of the road. The family, my wife says to me, I'll see you at the end of July. My daughter, gets up, wants to watch the Tour before we go to school, and I'm trying to get to work. I'm in a hurry, so maybe I've watched the finish of the stage if I haven't stayed up all night, and she's interested in just watching the podium because she wants to see what the podium girls look like. So the family's involved, and talking with you guys, it's fantastic to bring the sport of cycling to the people. In the business, the sport of cycling just then appeals to so many more. There's so many people get so much out of the Tour de France from the scenery. It inspires people. I was in the Hawke's Bay yesterday, and there's 180 kilometres of cycle trails down there as a part of the New Zealand Cycle Trail, and people will be inspired by the Tour de France to go ride those. We've got clients who have bought bikes to do the trails that have gone to France because of the Tour de France, because they got into cycling, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It's a beautiful sport that, if you've been running, playing golf, you're a little bit injured, playing football, as you know.
Stop it.
You can get on your bike and it genuinely doesn't hurt that much.
Oh, listen, as a sport, absolutely love it for that reason. I tried to play football on Saturday, tried to wind the clock back, and all I did was wind the hamstring back, as in
broke it in half and it's wound back up to the top of the leg. But whereas cycling, I mean, one of the most enjoyable things that I've ever done, and the toughest, was the BDO Challenge earlier this year, riding from Wellington to Auckland. I was on the phone to you a couple of times. You know the place that I put myself a couple of times on that tour. But you could hammer yourself for 4 hours on the bike and be at your wit's end, getting off the thing, thinking, how am I going to walk tomorrow, let alone get back on the bike? But you do. You recover. You get back on the bike and you go again. I've got to say, though, Del, what these guys do is beyond the pale, for a social cyclist like me. I mean, the roads they ride and the stages they ride, it is truly a test of endurance, isn't it?
Absolutely. But they are trained for it, Andrew. You got a taste of it in 1 week, and that's what they'll feel like at the end of 3, some of them at the end of 2. You know what it's like when you try to break away, you try to ride at that 40 kilometres an hour into the headwind. These guys have been doing it all year, but for many, many years. You look at Stuart O'Grady, he set a record, 17 Tour de France's. Now that's, they're a minimum of 3,000 kilometres, plus all the kilometres he does, all those other races. 17 Tour de France's. Most people, their career would be an absolute highlight to get one start, but to start 17 times, to do that, it just shows that how kind the sport of cycling can be if you can stay injury-free and no big crashes. And that's the big danger for these guys is crashing at 70 kilometres an hour in Lycra. You lose a lot of skin and get really hurt.
We're going to have a look at the tour. We're going to have a look at the key stages on the tour. We're going to have a look at the key riders and teams on the tour. And Paul Jesson will join us at about 20 to 10 on the show to talk about his experience in 1979 and get his thoughts on perhaps the 100th riding of the Tour de France. If you have any questions, by all means, please text them through to 5009 and we will do our best to answer those questions as we go through the show. Now, also, you can go to our Facebook page and you can get there via the website, hph.co.nz. We have a very simple quiz question. Where did this year's Tour de France start? So not literally, as in start line, street, address, but what part of France? Where did this year's Tour de France start? Enter on Facebook to win our book prize pack this week, and you can get there by visiting hph.co.nz. And all of our interviews now are available on podcast, so you can go back into the website and just click on the button there, and you can have a listen to any of our previous interviews, including this one after the show has concluded. But let's have a look first at the tour itself. 21 days of riding, Del?
21 stages, yes.
With how many rest days today?
2 rest stages.
Two rest days. So 21 days of riding. And I don't know, what are they on average? Are they on the bike for 4 or 5 hours a day on average? Be something like that, would it?
Well, some of the days are a bit longer, Andrew. They'll stretch out to the 6 hour mark. But generally, the racing's got shorter over the years. If we go back to when Paul rode, when Eric McKenzie rode, it wasn't uncommon to have 200 plus K days. I remember, as a kid reading the magazines, a 280 kilometre stage in the Tour de France. They don't do that today. The stages might be 200. They don't really like going over the 200 kilometre mark, and that's to protect the health of the riders and to try and, keep doping out of the sport. If you make the stages too long, like when the Tour started in 1930, they raced non-stop.
They just kept going, didn't they? They just kept going, yeah.
And, you can't treat human beings like that. I'm sure when L'Auto started the Tour de France, they didn't actually expect anybody to finish the Tour de France. And, 1903, it was a long time ago. And they rode those same coals that the guys are going over today. And the gravel roads, the conditions, no support. The guy that was wearing the yellow jersey who got the blacksmith, the boy in the blacksmith, to pump the bellows while he repaired his forks and was disqualified from the race. Those guys are unbelievable. And the Tour de France has kept a lot of those traditions with the lengths, with the stages, with the mountains, but it's so much easier today with the support, I'm sure.
So let's have a look at the tour in terms of where they ride and when. Is it fair to say that the first week it'd be doing them a disservice to say it's a warm-up, But it's the prelude, isn't it? It's the lead into the tough riding in the middle and latter parts of the tour.
It is for the general classification riders, and the general classification riders are the riders that want the yellow jersey in Paris. But for the sprinters, Marcel Kittel, who won the first stage, Mark Cavendish, Andre Greipel, Peter Sagan, the first week's important because they're not going to win the Tour. So they're going to go to this race in good form to try and win. Like in Cavendish's case, he's won everything but the yellow jersey. He wanted the yellow jersey more than anything in the world, and it didn't happen for him. So
when you say that, you mean he wanted the yellow jersey after day one?
After day
because
one.
that was his chance to be in the yellow jersey, and he wouldn't hold on to it for much longer.
That's right. So he wanted that. Cadel Evans or Chris Froome, for example, they want to stay out of trouble in that first week. So for them, it's a warm-up. They've been in preparation mode for the Tour. They haven't done a lot of racing because they need their good form 8, 9, 10, up to 18 days into the Tour to be hitting peak form. So they need actually that first week to
ride themselves into form.
That's right.
Yep. We're talking the Tour de France on the Hyundai High Performance Hour. Del Woodford, my guest in studio, and Paul Jesson will join us in about 20 minutes' time. When we come back, we'll have a look at the key stages on this year's Tour, the times when it could be won or lost.
The Hyundai High Performance Hour, proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
So my son comes home from sport on Saturday complaining about a sore arm.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I thought, well, it really doesn't look too good. Well, because Mercy Radiology was open, I marched him in there with the doctor's referral. They took x-rays, which under ACC were free of charge. And then being digital, our doctor could see them immediately from his office computer.
Wow.
So out he walks to the cast. He'd broken his arm.
What a little trooper.
He thinks he's very brave.
With leading specialists and the latest technology, you're in safe hands with Mercy Radiology. Go to radiology.co.nz.
Flying out of Auckland? Leave your car with Aeroparks. There are lots of great reasons why. Take your pick. Your car will never leave the Tarsield site. You can make use of the showering and baby changing facilities. And of course, you'll be taken straight to the terminal for free. The best bit? You won't be charged huge prices. Choose Aeroparks. Book now to secure your space at aeroparks.co.nz or phone 0800 Aeroparks.
Wouldn't it be nice to make the house warm, dry and cosy for winter? Maybe a heat pump, perhaps one of those home ventilation systems, or even just help to handle some debt. Want to get onto things around the home? Talk to Avanti Finance about their tailored financial solution for homeowners called the Freedom Loan. Contact your broker or call Avanti Finance on 0800 003 111. Normal lending criteria apply. Visit avantifinance.co.nz.
Radio Sport brings you Super Rugby 2013 with Crown Diesel Forklift. The Hurricanes versus the Highlanders. I know what you're thinking. Two teams at the bottom of the New Zealand Conference. Why would I want to listen to that on Saturday night at 7:35? This is why you will. 1, it's a mini All Black trial. 2, Daniel McCarty is in the combox. 3, I've run out of reasons, so please tune in. Come on, it's rugby. You're a Kiwi. You love rugby. Radio Sport. The Hyundai High Performance Hour with Andrew Dewhurst. Proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
Yes, joining me in studio, Del Woodford, as we talk the Tour de France. And if you've got any questions, text them through on 5009 and we'll get to those before the end of the show. Key stages then, if we accept, Del, that within reason, that the first week is a settling in time. Yes, there are some climbs. Yes, there are some time trials. There's a risk, of course. You can probably lose the Tour in the first week, but you can't win it in the first week. Is that fair to say?
Oh, that's very fair, Andrew. There's been riders, a big break. Would go back to Claudio Chiappucci, the Italian, who got into a massive break sort of at the end of the first week of the Tour. They gave him far too much time, and then they had to chase him, and they caught him in the final stages of the mountains. But that doesn't happen so much anymore, and you're right, you don't win the Tour in the first week. Cadel Evans says you don't need good luck to win the Tour, you just don't need bad luck.
Let's have a look then. First time that we should really sit up and take notice, is it when they hit the Pyrenees?
Yes, definitely. Stage 8 to 10, Saturday night, I think it is our time, into the Pyrenees. Coming off the team's time trial, the flatter stages, finding your climbing legs is the thing that will be worrying the main general classification contenders. They've been on the flat, they might have been on the limit a little bit at times, and then they've got to hit the Pyrenees, which, you're talking to the people like Paul Jesson, Stephen Swart, Eric McKenzie. The Pyrenees are steeper than the Alps. The Alps are longer, but the Pyrenees are steeper. So the Spanish riders, and I'm not talking the Contadors here who are going for the overall, but the riders down the track, a little bit down the pecking order, they want to win in the Pyrenees.
Want to win a stage.
And they will make it hard.
Then we have stage 11 time trial. It's just the 33k though, and we look later in the tour where there's a mountain time trial of sorts, stage 17. But this stage 11 is this coming off the mountains? Is this now where the GC we start to look at riders riding the clock as much as they are the opponents and looking for damage control if they're not a good time trialist? So I think it's someone like a Cadel Evans.
Cadel Evans will be looking to limit his losses stages 8 through 10. He needs a good time trial. Ideally he needs a buffer, but he hasn't got the time trialing form of Chris Froome at the moment. So it's really important to have the 33 kilometre into time trial. It's the race of truth, and all the top contenders need to perform on that day if they're going to win the Tour.
Stage 15, and excuse my pronunciation here, Del, but is it Mount Ventoux?
Mount Ventoux,
Ventoux.
yes.
So stage 15, tell us about that one. What's going to happen there? And have you got some of the numbers in terms of the climbs that we're talking about here and elevation, etc.?
So I don't, but you're up into the beyond category and climb. So Mount Ventoux will be getting up to 2,000 plus metres, I think, from memory. And it's a climb that you've climbed through the trees and then it's barren. It's like a moonscape, and it's cold and it's steep and it's hard. And it's where Tom Simpson lost his life, and there's a memorial to Tom Simpson there. It's one of the classic climbs of the Tour. It doesn't go over there every year, but it's got to be there in the 100th, and to have the finish at the top. This is going to be a vital, vital day. And even if you're not a cycling fan, this is one to watch.
You got to watch it. And are we going to see, on this particular stage, as well as the Alps later in the final week, but is this where we'll see the streets lined with people? Is this where you get hundreds of thousands lining these climbs?
Yes, if you're not in Carpendales a couple of days or somewhere in that area to get up the Mount Ventoux, it'll be shut off at least by 10 a.m. in the morning, and there'll be 1 million people on that climb. It'll just be packed.
So you're not exaggerating?
No.
There'll be 1 million people on the mountain?
They'll jam. Up the Weir's going over it later on. They're going over it twice and still finishing at the top. I don't think they'll fit. I don't know how they'll fit everyone up. There'll be people camping there now getting ready for it.
Wow, that is... I know that talking about people that are going over and the fact that we're not, but very jealous. Stephen Cox is going over with, I think, is it Blair Stockwell?
Yes.
I think he might be going... Anyway, so Stephen's going over, so it is a bit of a pilgrimage, isn't it, for cyclists? They want to head over and see part of this.
Oh, they do, and, those two names, very good teammates of our guest.
Oh, well, there we go.
Well,
there we go. So Paul Jesson coming up on the show. Stage 16. Tell us about stage 16, Del. Where are they going, and what's the key here?
Through to Gap. Again, more mountains. Anytime this tour goes uphill, it's going to be tough. And the organisers have really kept the whole race in France, as you mentioned, started in Corsica. They've taken in all the classic climbs of the race. So often you can't go over every single mountain pass or every Pyrenean pass, but they've selected the very, very best of them and put them all in there. So to Gap is another tough day. Not as hard as the previous day on Ventoux, but what's coming is
you're
tough.
Backing up.
You're backing up.
And then 17. Tell us about this time trial.
Well, it's a hilly time trial. I'd call it a mountain time trial. It's not a mountain time trial in terms you start at the bottom of the climb and go up, but it's steep, and it's going to suit someone like Contador. This may favour him a little bit over Froome, although Froome has been climbing exceptionally well. But Cadel Evans will struggle a little bit here. It'll be interesting to see how the likes of Valverde and Rodriguez go on this sort of climb, on this sort of time trial, on this sort of course. It's quite a long one as well. Another 32-kilometre time trial, and for the general classification riders, this is everything. But for the riders down, the sprinters in this race, they have an easier day, but there's still a time limit. So
is it 10%?
And it's, on 33K, it'll be less. So they don't have a lot of time to lose. So they've still got to put in a hard ride and average the average speeds have got to be up there. We saw that in the team's time trial today, 60 kilometres an hour. At times, an average of over 50. You can't slacken off, and this is the most important time trial of the tour. This one, and then you got to come out of it. Stage 18, Alpe d'Huez.
Is this the most famous on the tour? Do you think, in modern times, anyway?
It is. The number of people that go there. You got the Dutch corner. There could be 500,000 Dutch people there on that climb. It'll be just orange. 42 hairpin bends. They're numbered. Steep at the bottom. It kicks in, and then as Eric McKenzie, I was listening to him the other night, was saying, then it's just a long climb, steady, but it's long. It doesn't have the hard pinches. But when you're climbing for over 20 kilometres. Like, it's hard to imagine it. We really don't have anything here that's like that.
No, and I was again going back to the BDO Challenge, the Wellington to Auckland, which is on next February, by the way. And if people want to come and join me, I am going to line up again. But there was a Fields track coming out. I've got to try and remember now. Coming out of, I think, Wanganui, going to Oakuni, and that's probably the longest climb I've ever ridden. But it's not steep. It's a steady climb, but it's not steep. And from memory, I think it was about 11K. And so these guys are doing double that at probably double the gradient.
Yeah, the gradient is consistent. You always see averages of 10% and 8%, etc. But there's parts of the climbs that are
just
15,
the pinches.
16.
Yep.
They take their toll. If you don't have your rhythm right on those climbs, there's nowhere to hide on a climb. If you'll see a break go, and you can't go into the red zone and try and go with it, because if you blow up, you lose.
You just stop.
You do.
Yep.
So managing how you're feeling, trying limiting your losses, the tactics that come into these climbs is just incredible. The mental toughness, the noise of the crowd, how close they are to you. We saw in the Criterium Dauphiné, if they'd watched that on television, riding Alpe d'Huez, you wouldn't have known it was Alpe d'Huez because there's no one on the climb. But it's going to be totally different. The noise, everything for the riders, the concentration levels. This is tough, and this is what will take its toll on someone maybe like Froome, first time leading the tour or being the team leader. This will be a tough day for him.
And is that it then? I mean, stage 18, is that as tough as it gets? And then is it a bit of a procession into Paris, or is there still some action to come?
They've thrown in another one. Stage 19, Col de Madeleine, Col de Croxfar. They're tough days. You get over those and you're still in yellow, you will win the Tour de France. But you can't afford a bad day. You have one bad day here, or your team is a little bit weak one day, you could really be exposed with stages 15, 16, 17 the time trial, 18, 19. That's probably the toughest week I've seen in the Tour for a long, long time.
We're talking the Tour de France on the Hyundai High Performance Hour with Del Woodford. Soon to join us, Paul Jesson, who rode the Tour back in 1979. He was a winner of a stage in the Tour de Spain, a decorated career until an accident saw him unable to compete anymore at the very top level, but had a wonderful career in Paralympic cycling. Paul Jesson will join us very soon. When we come back, though, we'll have a look at the contenders on the 100th Tour de France.
The Hyundai High Performance Hour. Proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
So my son comes home from sport on Saturday complaining about a sore arm.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I thought, well, it really doesn't look too good. Well, because Mercy Radiology was open, I marched him in there with the doctor's referral. They took x-rays, which under ACC were free of charge. And then being digital, our doctor could see them immediately from his office computer.
Wow.
So out he walks to the cast. He'd broken his arm.
What a little trooper.
He thinks he's very brave.
With leading specialists and the latest technology, you're in safe hands with Mercy Radiology. Go to radiology.co.nz.
Schofield Holden are opening up with full-on, full-throttle deals for a limited time. Get $2,000 cash back on every new Holden private purchase before 5 p.m. July 7th, on top of great savings on selected Barina, Captiva, Cruise and Colorado models. Conditions apply while stocks last. Test drive today. Details at schofield.co.nz.
We're still Schofields after all of these years. G'day, you're all mate the Mad Butcher. This week, all stores have fresh Tegel chicken on sale. Fresh boneless chicken breast, only $9.99 a kilo. That's right, fresh boneless chicken breast, only $9.99 a kilo. And check out the fresh chicken drumsticks, the fresh chicken thighs, and the fresh chicken wings, all down to just $5.99 a kilo. That's right, $5.99 a kilo. And because I'm mad, New Zealand beef schnitzel, plain or crumbed, only $10.99 a kilo.
Super Rugby 2013 Crusaders Chiefs Friday night 7:35 live from AMI Stadium Radio Sport. The Hyundai High Performance Hour with Andrew Dewhurst, proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
Yes, and we now look at the contenders on the Tour de France, and there are a number. You might argue there's more than there have been in many of the previous editions, albeit there is one name that stands out. But it's one name that stands out without necessarily having the CV of former favourites. Does that make sense, Del? That Froome is the clear favourite for this tour, but he's not the favourite with the record behind him that says that he is just a lay-down Mazir. You've hinted already that there could be some cracks in the armour because he's going to be in a position he's never been in before.
That's right. And at the Tour de France, when you take the yellow jersey, the pressure just changes. All of a sudden, the media interviews what you're required for. I know Bradley Wiggins said leading the Tour was like something he'd never experienced before. And there was a guy who'd won numerous Olympic medals and world titles. But when the team's on the bus, going back to the hotel, and you're 2, 3 hours, 4 hours later, you're still doing interviews, you're getting back later, your massages later, your dinners later. And handling that pressure is really difficult. We saw Cadel Evans really struggle with it the first year he was leading the Tour and didn't go on to win it. So it can take its toll. He's also not coming into the race having won anything.
Oh, he's almost been off the radar, hasn't he, this year?
He's won the races he's needed to leading up to the race. You know, they did the 1-2 and the Criterium Dauphiné. He's followed the program of Sir Bradley Wiggins. But he hasn't won a Grand Tour. He hasn't won a Tour of Spain. He hasn't won, the Giro d'Italia. He looked like he could have dropped Sir Bradley Wiggins last year. So he's the bookie's favourite. There's no doubt about it. But there's a lot, as Contador said, there's a lot of actors in this race that can change it.
Just quickly, Paul Jesson's about to join us. So just quickly, a couple of the other contenders and your thoughts quickly on them. Contador with Saxo Bank?
A big chance, experienced team, knows how to win a bike race, and knows how to win a Grand Tour, really.
Rodriguez riding for Katusha?
Dangerous. Very dangerous. Can't time trial as well as the big favourites. Very aggressive. Super climber. Strong team. He will be trouble.
You think he's the dark horse, yeah?
I think he's a dark horse. I don't think he'll win the race, but, man, he might make them suffer.
Valverde with Movistar?
I think he overrates himself. He looked like, with Lance Armstrong, when he beat him on one of the big climbs, that he could go on and win the Tour. I don't think Valverde will win the Tour.
Cadel Evans, 37, 38 now with BMC?
Yeah, 36.
Okay, sorry, he looks 38 at the moment.
Might be feeling it as well. There's a lot of pressure in that team. TJ Van Garderen, very good rider. Evans is the leader, but that could change if he has a bad day. And then it comes, will Evans ride for him?
Hossedal and Talansky, both with Garmin?
Very dangerous. And I say that and people go, you've probably got rocks in your head. Hossedal, he's won the Giro d'Italia. Jonathan Vaughters knows how to get the best out of these guys. They ride their socks off for each other. I think if they've got good form, especially Hossedal, he doesn't time trial badly and he's hard to get rid of in the climbs.
And this one might be one for the future, but let's mention him now from Movistar. Quintana Rojas. You rate this guy, in particular in the mountains?
He can go uphill. I saw him drop Chris Froome on a big climb, and he's sensational. An amazing rider. I think he could win the Tour one day. What will hold him back is what he has to do for Valverde, because Valverde is the team captain.
So it's almost Froome for Wiggins in a way.
Exactly right.
Yep. Fantastic. There's a few of the contenders and the teams to look out for, but of course you'll have surprise winners of stages. You'll have the sprinters having their day as well on the sprint finish stages. But joining us next is Paul Jesson. And Del, you can't read the whole CV because then we run out of time to interview the bloke. But tell us a little about this guy before we put him on here.
Well, Paul Jesson is growing up. he was a legend of the sport and a motivation for many young people to get into the sport. He won the Tour of Southland. He rode it 4 times, won it twice, finished second on the other 2 occasions. He won the Wellington to Auckland. As a 21-year-old, he won the Paris-Trois, Grand Prix des Nations, the Bianchi Trophy, which was... these are some of the biggest races in the world. And if you win these today, Andrew, you're a megastar on a big team. And no one knows, really, unless you're a true fan, that Paul won these races. He then signed for Splendor to ride the Tour de France. And I love this. They came to me and said, we want to sign you we have a contract for you to ride a tour. And Paul said, oh, what tour is that and how long is it? They said, it's 23 days. And he goes, oh, that tour. His first full professional race was the Tour de France.
Yeah, amazing stuff. In 1979, he joins us now on the show, Paul Jesson. Hi, Paul. Thanks for your time.
Hello, Andrew.
Tell us about getting that contract, that offer to ride in a tour. And as far as I understand, Paul, that was your first tour as a professional, was it? The Tour de France?
Yeah, that's right. I'd shown good form in 78 and had offers from various teams, but I went back in 79 again, and I'd been riding several tours, some recently in the Pyrenees, which was where that tour started that year. Went straight into the Pyrenees on the first stage, and Splendor were looking for riders because they were low on riders, and I just got drafted in. Yeah, I came home from a training ride, and they said, yeah, I had someone wants you to ride a 3-week tour.
So, I mean, listen, this is, there's no social media, there's no,
no.
There's no emailing going on here. It was just, a tap on the shoulder, was it? And, hey, mate, would you like to come and ride for us?
Yeah, well, I think Splendor had ridden the Tour of Spain, and they hardly had any good climbers, and the word went out they were looking for someone who could climb, because, like I said, that it started in the Pyrenees on the first day. And so I got drafted in. That's how it happened. So,
I mean, what was it like for you as a young, wide-eyed Kiwi on the other side of the world in this? I mean, even then, cycling at that level's been around for such a long time in Europe. How did you find it as this Kiwi?
Within a week or something, I was signed up and on the plane to Florence with these guys that I'd only ever seen in magazines, and it was quite an amazing experience. Yeah.
Did you cope with it okay?
Oh, I think I did, yeah.
I mean, your results say that you did, but I mean, you and yourself, did you ever have any moments where you doubted yourself in any way, shape or form, or did you feel at home in that company straight away?
It was a huge learning curve because, sometimes they raced slowly and I wasn't used to that kind of riding with amateurs, and then they would, near the end of the tour stages, it was just slow flying. It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, what was it like? Yeah, you really broke new ground for New Zealanders. We had Harry Watson way back in 1928 ride the tour. Then we had Tino de Back riding, but he was riding under a Dutch passport, so it wasn't a lot of coverage. 1979, really, since Harry Watson, the first New Zealander to be on the start line. What was the reaction from people in the media and that here, as Andrew said, today we've got social media, so it's all over the place. But what was it like in 1979?
There was very little media, really. I think it might have made a few lines back here, but no, I was living over in Belgium and racing and doing what I wanted to do, and it was nothing like now, nothing, just completely nothing.
Who was on your team? Am I right that Sean Kelly was on your team?
Yeah, Sean Kelly was the sprinter on the team.
So, I mean, tell us about the opportunity. I mean, there's a superstar straight away. I mean, tell us about the opportunity. As you've already said, here's guys that you've looked at in magazines and read about, and now suddenly you're on the same team.
Yeah, well, I roomed with Sean Kelly in that Tour de France, and he wasn't the megastar that he became in the early 80s after he'd won Paris-Roubaix and classics and that. But he had already won a stage in the Tour de France. But the team leader was Michel Pollentier. He had won the Tour of Italy, and he was a Grand Tour winner. And the year before had been declassified. A bit of a he got caught out on the Alpe d'Huez for trying to flick the dope control.
Yes, well, there's something else that's been going on for a little while in the sport, sadly. What about the level of support? Again, in the modern day, they don't lack for anything. We saw one of the team buses up close, a little closer than they would have liked. They don't lack for anything on the tours these days. Can you tell us what it was like for you in 1979?
Yeah, you did your own washing. I remember Kelly telling me stories about, they would sleep on their shorts and that sort of thing. They'd use them 2 days in a row. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was nothing like now.
It's unbelievable.
There was no light back then.
What do you think, Paul? You went there, racing in Belgium, made your own way into the professional ranks. Today we've got a number of riders over there who've come through a high-performance program. But do you get great pride in seeing someone like Jack Bauer succeed, who's really done it a similar way to you all these years later?
Yeah, pretty similar, actually. When he came back and he had won 9 races in Belgium, I know what it takes to win a race in Belgium. I thought that guy's good. And I saw him in the Tour of Southland when I went down to there, and I saw his raw talent. And he has learned a lot, and he's a lot more paced. He doesn't ride so much on the front like he used to. He was quite green when I saw him at Southland, but he had the ability, yeah.
And I mean, when you look back on that 1979 tour, and as you say, you pretty much went straight into the Pyrenees, what's the enduring memory, Paul, for you from that tour?
From the Pyrenees?
From the tour, from 1979. What stayed with you most?
Oh, lots of things. Riding along against Hinault, and I remember one day riding out, I think the second stage was a mountain time trial, and it went up to a skiing field, and we were going up there, and Hinault came past us in this huge gear, and he was absolutely flying, and he was just warming up.
Dear, oh dear. But I mean, you are a great rider in your own right, having won classics and achieved, as you said, and as Del pointed out. But I mean, for you, was there an element of do I try and ride against these guys, or do I get an autograph? Was it almost a mixture of that?
No, I was riding for the team, for what I could do for the team riders. Yeah.
Yeah, and that meant sacrificing yourself at different times, didn't it? Tell us the story of one of the stages where I think you gave up your rear wheel for Sean.
Not in that tour.
Was that in a different tour?
In the Tour of Spain, I did it on a couple of occasions. Gave him a tour up, and he gave my wheel up, and then he won the stage.
So tell us how that works, because people that don't follow cycling may not understand that team dynamic.
Well, that happened a year later in the Tour of Spain, and I remember we had a speed bump coming with about 20k from the finish, and I was close to Sean, and I saw he punctured, and so I straight away stopped and gave my back wheel to him, and he got back on, and he won the stage.
And that's just a case of that stage that day was suited to the sprinter, so you were almost playing the backup role.
Yeah, well, it's one of the early stages where before you get to the mountains, where it sort of stays together. Yeah.
Yeah. What were the crowds like in 1979?
Oh, that was amazing. I mean, there was a lot of actually looked at the old book today, and there were 7 time trials in that Tour de France, and including the prologue. There were 2 team time trials of 90 kilometres, 2 individual time trials of one of 50 and one of 30, and then 2 mountain time trials. So it had a lot of time trialling in it. But now it's more. I think it's more for the TV, and everything's so much different nowadays.
Do you think the race today, Paul, is more even because of the distances of the time trials and there are less time trials in the race? Or is it just as hard today to win the Tour de France as it was for Bernard Hinault to win 5 of them?
I think it still comes down to who can climb the mountains the best, but they don't have huge time trials like they used to, and huge team time trials where teams would have been separated by 6 minutes, that kind of thing.
I was telling Andrew, it wasn't uncommon to have an 80-kilometre individual time trial, but I couldn't imagine riding a time trial that long, even a 50-kilometre time trial in a 21-day bike race. What do you go through when you're out there racing against the clock and you've got to maybe get up the next day and ride an Alp or a Pyrenean pass?
Oh, they're remarkably well-trained athletes, so that you do wonder sometimes when you climb mountains, you think, how can you do this day after day? But they are incredibly well-trained, and like in that stage, in that tour also, there was they did part of Paris-Roubaix, so that was very, very hard.
So is it you trust that training? You trust that you will have the strength in the legs and that you will recover and that you can go again the next day?
Yeah, that's basically it, yeah. But,
Paul, I'm interested in what you ate back then. There's a lot of things around with the food today, but I read stories and you hear stories of, in the 70s and 80s it was steak and
rice.
It was steak, literally steak and rice, really, for 21 days.
Yeah, that was your race food. You come down, you'd have breakfast, and you'd have coffee or something, and then a bun, something like that, and then a couple of hours later you have to come down and eat race food. Yeah, so nutrition was not like it is now. No, that's certainly one aspect that's moved on a little. Paul Jesson is our guest on the Hyundai High Performance Hour. Rode the Tour de France in 1979 and a stage winner on the Tour of Spain. Back in a moment with more thoughts from Paul about his time as a top-level cyclist, but also perhaps a few comments on this year's edition of the Tour de France.
The Hyundai High Performance Hour. Proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
Aeropark's special deal this month, just $5 a day for 6 days or more. Aeroparks gives you personalised service with secure allocated parking on Tarsiel, minutes from the airport, and a luxury shuttle delivers you direct to the terminal free. $5 a day for 6 days or more all this month. Drive in, take off. aeroparks.co.nz. That's aeroparks.co.nz.
For a luxury bathroom at half the price, see the team at DIY Bathrooms. They do plans, products and give advice that's guaranteed to save you thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. Get a beautiful, modern, top-quality freestanding bath from only $999. That's less than half price. Massive bath specials in both stores right now. Hurry while stocks last. DIY Bathrooms, 18 Piranha Road, Glenfield and 8 Car Road, Mount Roskill.
G'day, you're all Mike the Mad Butcher. This week, all stores have fresh Tegel chicken on sale. Fresh boneless chicken breast, only $9.99 a kilo. That's right, fresh boneless chicken breast, only $9.99 a kilo. And check out the fresh chicken drumsticks, the fresh chicken thighs, and the fresh chicken wings, all down to just $5.99 a kilo. That's right, $5.99 a kilo. And because I'm mad, New Zealand beef schnitzel, plain or crumbed, only $10.99 a kilo.
Rigger breakfast now.
Craig Cumming down there in the studio in Dunedin. Craig, how's the diagnosis with your feet coming on?
Not great, actually. We've gone from stress fractures, and now I've actually found out I've got arthritis in my joints and my toes. So, unfortunately, that's worse, but let's move on. My wife's sick of me talking about it.
Oh, really?
I go back to probably my cricket days, Mark. I couldn't hit the ball hard enough to hit boundaries, so I just did so much running between the wickets.
Should have just let it go outside. I started not bother running at all.
Breakfast with Rigger. Radio Sport. The Hyundai High Performance Hour with Andrew Dewhurst. Proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
Talking the Tour de France, Del Woodford with me in studio, and Paul Jesson, our guest, on the line from his home in Christchurch. I assume it's Christchurch, Paul, with the 03 number. Of course, rode the Tour de France in 1979 and a winner of a stage in the Tour of Spain in, was it 1980, that Tour of Spain where you won the stage?
Yeah, 1980. Yep.
I mean, what was the bigger highlight for you, Paul? Was it riding the Tour in 79 or was it that win in Spain in 1980?
I'd probably have to say the win in Tour of Spain, as I was more prepared for that tour, and I just happened to get away that day on that stage and beat that Dutch rider in, and yeah, that was a highlight for me.
So when you get a stage victory like that on one of the major tours, is it something that was planned from a tactical point of view, or did it just unfold?
No, it didn't. It wasn't planned. It just unfolded. I happened to get in the break, and I chased the right move, and I went with that Johan van der Meer, is his name. Yeah.
So what? You're feeling good that day? You just know it in yourself?
in tours, what generally happens is they race hard until the break goes, and yeah, that's what happens. You just try and get up the road, and it worked out that day that I got away with. So I think there were 17 to begin with, and then it went down to 2 of us in the end, and then I finished on my own. Just a bit.
So when you say, Paul, they let the break go, like you watch the race on television, there's action, and there's some breaks, and you think, gee, this is the break that's going to stay away, and then bang, it's shut down. What does it take for a break to form and stay away? 17 riders to 2 left. There must be some mix that's required for a break to succeed.
Yeah, it's got to have a right combination of riders, not too lopsided, too many of one team or any favourites. And that break actually drifted out to 10 minutes that day, so I was tour leader on the road, but it came back and I was 45 seconds at the line, I think. But that was well before the time of radios, and it's quite orchestrated nowadays. You watch it on TV and it's not quite... It's a different era.
Wonderful to catch up, though, Paul, and I only wish that we had more time. We'll have to have a catch-up with you again at some stage and relive some of those wonderful moments. And, of course, you've since gone on to a wonderful career in Paralympic cycling as well. Are you still riding?
I am still riding, just for my health.
Jolly good. We might have to see if we can get you to one of the events. Perhaps we can get you riding a day on the BDO tour, the Wellington to Auckland tour next year.
Yeah, one day.
That'd be nice. We could have Stephen Cox, Blair Stockwell, Paul Jessen, Jack Swart. That would be a good team, Paul.
It sounds like a nice lineup, and I apologise for saying that to you live on radio. But Paul, thank you very much for your time, and go well. We hope to see you out there on one of those events over the coming summer. Back in a moment to wrap things up on the Hyundai High Performance Hour.
Bun's 20th birthday sale on now. There's half price store-wide. All bikes, all cycle clothing, all accessories, half price. Get in for great birthday savings and celebrate with Bike Bun. The best deals on 2 wheels. Exclusions apply.
Bike Bun. So my son comes home from sport on Saturday complaining about a sore arm.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I thought, well, it really doesn't look too good. Well, because Mercy Radiology was open, I marched him in there with the doctor's referral. They took x-rays, which under ACC were free of charge. And then being digital, our doctor could see them immediately from his office computer.
Wow.
So out he walks to the cast. He'd broken his arm.
What a little trooper.
He thinks he's very brave.
With leading specialists and the latest technology, you're in safe hands with Mercy Radiology. Go to radiology.co.nz.
Wouldn't it be nice to make the house warm, dry and cosy for winter? Maybe a heat pump, perhaps one of those home ventilation systems, or even just help to handle some debt. Want to get onto things around the home? Talk to Avanti Finance about their tailored financial solution for homeowners called the Freedom Loan. Contact your broker or call Avanti Finance on 0800 003 111. Normal lending criteria apply. Visit avantifinance.co.nz.
Hi, Paul from Shawmount. Shawmount still have the best range of brackets and prices available in New Zealand. We simply cannot be beaten on the range and the pricing of LED, projector, plasma or LCD mounts. We've got brackets from 19-inch TVs through to 75-inch TVs in stock. Shawmount is a locally owned company. All advice on mounting your LED, plasma and projector is simply a phone call away. Shawmount.co.nz. Shawmount.co.nz. You can be sure if it's Shawmount.
Bun's 20th birthday sale on now. There's half price store-wide. All bikes, all cycle clothing, all accessories, half price. Get in for great birthday savings and celebrate with Bike Bun. The best deals on 2 wheels. Exclusions apply.
Bike Bun. New Zealand's only 24/7 sports radio. Radio Sport.
Great to have Paul Jessen on the show. Glory days. What a glorious career. And very sadly cut short, of course, by the accident. But a man that showed incredible fortitude to return and compete and win medals, Olympic medals in the Paralympics in cycling. We've only got 30 seconds, Del, but tragically lost a leg in an accident on the bike.
Yeah, it was tragic. Leading... the lead-up race to the Tour de France at the time, beating the guy that went on to win the Tour de France. As I said, Andrew, I don't know anyone that had a career, Rob, more so than Paul Jessen, and it was a privilege growing up to see him race, an inspiration, and and what he offered the young guys in Canterbury and still offers them today is amazing. A wonderful champion.
Yep, and as I say, went on to win Olympic medals in Paralympic cycling. So Paul Jesson, we've got details on our website, and of course you can answer our quiz question about the Tour de France this year on our Facebook page. Simply go to hph.co.nz or find us on Facebook, answer the question, and if you've got it right, you're in the draw to win our book prize pack this week. That is the Hyundai High Performance Hour for Wednesday the 3rd of July. We'll be back after the news. We'll take your calls, we'll open the lines and talk the sporting issues of the day.